اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إذا السماء انفطرت وإذا الكواكب انتثرت وإذا البحار فجرت وإذا القبور بعثرت علمت نفس ما قدمت وأخرت يا أيها الإنسان ما غرك بربك الكريم الذي خلقك فسواك فعدلك في أي صورة ما شاء ركبك كلا بل تكذبون كلا بل تكذبون بالدين وإن عليكم لحافظين كراما كاتبين يعلمون ما تفعلون إن الأبرار لفي نعيم وإن الفجار لفي جحيم يصلونها يوم الدين وما هم عنها بغائبين وما أدراك ما يوم الدين ثم ما أدراك ما يوم الدين يوم لا تملك نفس لنفس شيئا والأمر يومئذ لله صدق الله العلي العظيم. صلوات على محمد وآل محمد.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم Assalamu alaikum jami'an wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to another fantastic session at Imam Hussein Islamic Center, and it's as always a pleasure to host everybody here this evening, even though virtually. Inshallah, you've been enjoying the programs that we've been hosting so far, and we're very happy that you're able to join us again this evening. This evening we have something slightly different to the previous sessions that we've enjoyed. And this evening's session, instead of with Sheikh Mohammed Mehdi, we have the pleasure of a dear brother in our community joining us, Haj Hussein Faraj. Assalamu alaikum, Haj.
Wa alaikum salam. Thank you very much for having me today.
Welcome. It's a real pleasure that you've been able to make some time away from your, I won't say busy schedule because it's overused, but those who know you know exactly how much time you don't have and where you spend the time that you don't have, which inshallah, that's really the focus of tonight's discussion, inshallah. We have, in case you've missed the title of tonight's discussion, we're talking about what it means to serve the community and how a person or people can make a difference in the community, regardless of whether it's, for example, directly our community or the community in general, or communities which are significantly more remote than where we are. And inshallah, we'll get a chance to touch on all of those topics and a lot more as well. As we have done with previous sessions, we invite questions and comments through whichever platform you're joining us on. Tonight we're on Zoom, on live through our Facebook page, and also live on our YouTube page as well. So inshallah, there's some method that you're able to connect to whichever platform you can get onto. So please don't be afraid to join in, send your comments and questions through, and inshallah we'll get a chance to discuss those and a lot more this evening. If I may request that before we get into the real discussion here, may I request that we recite Surah Fatiha for all of our marhumin, but particularly for the father of a friend of mine who unfortunately sadly passed away earlier on today overseas, the father of Sayyid Ali Raza Hani Kazmi. So with a salawat, please recite a Fatiha for him and all of our marhumin. Salawat. Okay, so a little bit of background on Haj Hussein Faraj, and don't worry, I won't get into too much details. You've got nothing to worry about. I'll leave that for you. Those who know Haj Hussein Faraj, and he's commonly referred to as Hus Faraj. So if you don't mind, I'm going to refer to you as Hus Faraj.
Please.
All right. Haj Faraj has been working in the community for a long time in a variety of different capacities and with an unbelievable number and method of different ways that Haj Faraj has done stuff. And that's just from what I know of him. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not here to just sing your praises and all of that sort of stuff. We're here to have a real discussion. And part of that discussion is with the number of years that you've spent doing the work in the community that you have, whether it's to help the poor, feed the hungry, go out into remote parts of Australia to do work there, and I won't comment on that, I'll let you comment on that, on all of those sorts of things, connecting with different Muslim and non-Muslim communities and whatnot. The obvious question that comes to mind is, how did you start? Where did you get a start from? What inspired you, or what kicked it off for you to say, you know what, I'm going to do this?
First, I'd like to wish everyone Eid Mubarak.
Eid Mubarak, thank you very much.
Eid Mubarak, everyone. Second, thank you for the praise, but I'm only one person. Think about it as a form of a clock. I'm only one cog in that clock. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, unfortunately, for some reason, I seem to get all the credit for the work, but I can guarantee you there's an army behind all the work that happens, and there's a lot of work that goes on. I'm only the facilitator, and fortunately, I love facilitating the programs, but I've had the honor to facilitate, and therefore, usually it ends up with me being at the front image. But there's a lot of hard work that goes behind, and the guys that do the work, trust me, work a lot harder than I do.
Haj, that always happens. It always it does take one person, not necessarily to be in the front of it, but to bring it together. And I think you've demonstrated that you've been really good at that. And mashallah, it's a skill. And it's because of that skill, you've been burdened with this task, if I can put it that way, right?
I think that's the perfect word to say. When you walk into this, and I'm going to share a story, but I won't go into too much detail, because the way we started was a pretty interesting and fascinating story. I knew nothing about religion. I was Muslim, I was Shia. I used to go to the Hassaniyat or the Jamaat just during Ashura.
Yeah.
I had no idea for anything else. I knew it was halal and I knew it was haram. Right, so we were brought up in a house. I couldn't read Arabic. I used to listen to the Quran, never read the Quran. So I never had an endeavor to actually help. Mm. It started with two separate parts. And for the first time, I'll share one of them, but not in full detail. Sure. Prior to everything, I got a severe injury to my thoracic nerve. So my back, the thoracic nerve, which connects all the nerves from your legs to your head to your arms. So I couldn't move my neck or my hand. Right, so I went to the doctors, I got injured at work, I went through a period of severe depression. When you say anxiety and depression, I went through a period of severe anxiety and depression. I'd never had anything bad happen to me in my life. I've always had everything easy. So my parents gave me, my first house, my parents helped me, your car, with our families, our families are always there to stand with us. So I went through a very rough time. Coming out of the rough time, it was really what brought me out was religion. So I thought I was going to die. So I started to learn more and more about religion. And it wasn't learned about Islam. Forget about for a second just being Muslim. Yeah. I learned about all the religions. And every time I learned about a religion, it led me to the next religion. Until ultimately, although I was born Muslim, it took me back to Islam. So I never left Islam, but I was studying to figure out what was going to happen if I die, what's the outcome. I wanted to learn all the major religions.
How old were you at this stage?
I was, talking about 8 years, 9 years ago, probably about 26, 25, 26.
Sure.
So I was only young.
Yeah.
And trust me when I tell you, I had an easy life prior. I had a really easy life. So I've been blessed since I've been young. I've known how to make money, and I got promoted very quick in my career. I was in a trainer or a senior trainer at the railways at the age of 20 years old. So I was making $100,000 when people were on 30,000. So I was really lucky. At 20 years old,
you may as well be a millionaire at 20 years old.
No, I was lucky. I was lucky. But all of that, I lost all of that instantly. Yeah. So I went through a time in life where I got injured. I didn't know how to beat the injury. The more I tried to beat it, the more I failed. And then I went through a really rough scope there. But to be honest with you, anxiety is, and again, I can see it now when I see people and I can see it in them. When you go through it, you're able to pick it up really quick. But when you beat it, your mind becomes very sharp. And I don't know how to explain it unless someone's actually gone through it and beaten it. Your mind, the way your mind works with anxiety, and anxiety is what I used to have, it overworks. So you can even hear your heartbeat and then it panics. So your mind becomes a lot sharper. So long story short, I started to get into religion. Yeah. And I started to watch programs online. Like I watched my first show, and me and my family was Sayyid Ammar Nakhshawini. Yeah. So I would say that was the first program I ever watched that took me to Shiism. I was still Shia, but I didn't know nothing about it.
I think watching Sayyid Ammar is there's a couple of people, Sayyid Ammar, Haj Hussein Faraj.
That's correct.
That's for so many people, that's the entry into rediscovering or discovering Shia Islam.
That's correct. That's 100% correct. At that time, life started getting a little bit better. So the more I got involved in religion, the more I started to help people, the more I found that, you know what, yes, I've got this shoulder injury, I've got this problem, but it's not going to stop me doing anything. And the more I helped, the more I actually enjoyed it. Yeah. Right? And then it just shifted over. It just went really, the life shifted, and I wanted to get together and I wanted to do something. And then at one given point, I was saving money to buy a Ferrari. I'm telling you, it's the one. I was saving money. Asked my wife.
Yeah.
I wanted to buy either Ferrari or Lamborghini. That was it. I was about 27, 28 years old.
It's a great goal.
And that was my goal. I already had the house. I had a good job. So my goal was to buy this car. Anyway, time goes. My money was close. Abu Karar, I knew Abu Karar just by delivering products. We used to supply products for Imam Ali Islamic School in Beverly Hills. So I didn't actually know them, but I knew of them, so I saw them. I had a dream one day. It's a really unusual dream, and I won't go into too much detail.
Sure.
But in that dream, someone visited me in that dream. I was in a big hall, and in that hall, I was serving. It was like a counter in a restaurant. He comes up to me, and there's two people with him, and he starts to talk to me and ask me to make his birthday at this hall. And I looked around, and I go, it won't fit here. I can't fit 300 people here. And this is the whole thing going on in the dream. So he goes, no, look, I'm asking you, this is a request from me to you. I really want you to help me, and I want you to make my birthday, my Mawlud, and I want it here. And I want you to invite 300 people. And he told me what he wanted, and this was just a normal dream for me. Yeah. I woke up in the dream, but I was still in a dream.
Right.
I was with Abu Karar, and I was Sayyid Ali al-Mudarrisi. Sayyid Hassan, sorry. So with Abu Karar, I'm sitting down next to him. All of a sudden, we're in a place, and in that place, they're doing a mawlud. And in the mawlud, they're doing it for a specific person. Yeah. So I looked at Abu Karar, and I got Abu Karar, do you know who that was? And then I woke up from the dream. Yeah. My phone was ringing. Yeah. I got a phone call from a person that I saw a hall from 3 years earlier. Yeah. Yeah, 3 years earlier. 3 years before that, I saw this. I'm telling you, it's the same hall in my dream. I saw it, and I go to him, listen, if you ever want it, I want to turn it into a restaurant. Never thought 3 years ago, 4 years ago, I'd ever be doing anything religious. All right, there was no way, if you know anyone that knew me 7, 8 years ago, there was no way you thought I would be opening up or trying to open up a youth center or an Islamic center. It's just not possible. Then, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. I got the phone call. It was the owner. He said, you came 3 years ago, you saw this hall. It's now vacant. Are you still interested? And I shit myself. I'm telling you. Sorry, excuse the language. I go, oh my God, what's going on? Because it was the same place that I saw in the dream. And I was been saving up for, literally about 2 years, I've been saving up this money. And I remembered Abu Karar because he was in the dream. So I went and visited him. And I go, listen, this is the story. What do I do? Yeah. And he goes, let's just open up the center. Let's just take it. I go, all right, if that's the case, let's take it. So the money was exactly enough money to take the place, build it, get it up and running. Wow. It was literally the same money. Wow. And that's how it initially started. And that was all our program started from that point on.
That's incredible. That's incredible. And then it's just grown and grown and grown and developed and whatnot from there.
It's grown a lot.
It's grown and developed. It's evolved, right?
It has.
And mashallah, it has. And that means you're not stagnant. You're actually moving with the requirements and so on. But
initially, I was looking for and again, at the time I did this, I hardly had any money. I just had that money saved up. Yeah. And subhanAllah, when they say when you do good, God will send it tenfold back. Yeah. All right, I can guarantee you, when you do good, it may not come the first week or the first month. It will rain on you. All right, you won't. It's unbelievable. Sometimes we'd want to do a program, and there's no money at all, right? And you're thinking to yourself, how are we going to do this? All right, if we walk into this, we can't walk out and half short. And then all of a sudden, work becomes busy, life becomes, and it's really fascinating. So it's yes, we hit it, we were facilitating it, but I can guarantee you it wasn't us. For some, there was days Abu Karar will tell you, we didn't even know how the money came. I'd be working, they'd just come and we could run our programs. Yeah. But it's just incredible.
No, I understand. Your story's giving me goosebumps, by the way. It's I'm tingling all over. What a beautiful story, and you're very lucky to have that kind of visitation by, I assume, a very esteemed personality. We're in a similar position here. We have, mashallah, the community's worked hard to put together this center and whatnot. And there are times where we also wonder, okay, we've got to do this program. How are we going to do it? It could be a financial, it could be resources, could be anything. And from God knows where, people show up with food, or they'll say, I've been missing from the center. I want to make a donation. That's incredible. And it's divine intervention.
I'm going to make you laugh on that. During the food program, we didn't expect it to grow so fast. All right, we had Channel 9 come. We thought that when they came and asked us to talk to us, we wanted it to go out because what we wanted to show as our neighbours is there's a lot of bad media about Muslims in Australia. We wanted to show that we aren't what you see on TV.
Yeah.
All right, we're here, we're using us, but there's no difference. If you're hurting, we're hurting. If we can help, we will help. So when Channel 9 News, for the first time ever, because we've never agreed for anybody to ever broadcast or people to know the extent of the programs external to the community.
Yeah.
So it was a bit fascinating, but the program grew so big. One day, and just that day, I had no more money. Right, that day on that event, we had so many bags to go out, and we were flat. And I looked at Abu Khalid, and I get paid the next week because I've got money always constantly coming in. And I look at Abu Khalid, I go, "What are we gonna do? We're not gonna send food today." He goes to me, "Watch, Allah with the birah, just be patient." I kid you not, he hasn't even finished his words yet. A truck loads up, like a van rocks up, parks outside the shop, and brings us enough product to last us the week, and it lasted exactly until I got paid.
Oh my God.
Like it's incredible. Like the things that happen make no sense. Sometimes when you sit down and you want to discuss them, you can't. It's just not logical.
Yeah.
It makes no sense.
100%. I agree. I agree completely. It's these are the bounties of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Where and how He sends those bounties. People such as yourself and other people who work in the community, like you said before, you're just a facilitator, you're a channel.
Correct.
And by being so, my take on it is that at that moment in time, you are that chosen facilitator or channel, and you've been given a responsibility, an obligation, and a duty. Inshallah, I mean me, everybody else, you're up to the task of fulfilling that in the best way you possibly can. And inshallah, you continue to have success in doing that for your future endeavors. Now, I do want to ask you, you set up Madif, right? About 3 or 4 years ago?
Madif has been now about 5 years running.
Okay, so about 5 years. That was your real entry into more the religious side of providing programs and things.
Okay, the real entry into religious side happened also from a different type of dream, but
Please.
I hadn't the Madif yet.
Please.
Okay, it's a funny story. So I had 3 girls. I had no boys.
Yep.
Right, and then again, don't ask me what's going on with these weird dreams, but the more you become religious, the more weirder the dreams get. I can tell you now, for some reason, you just see some really strange dreams. We weren't planning on having any more kids.
Yep.
I had 3 girls. We tried for a boy, just didn't have a boy. So we just said, alhamdulillah. I mean, there's nothing, 3 beautiful girls. I was happy.
Holy Prophet had
content.
had a daughter, and
That's
mashallah.
I was content. I was happy with it. I said, let's just, enough. Let's stop at 3. I saw a dream that night, and this led us to Iraq. And this is the funny thing, which shows you that each thing happens for a reason. It leads you for a reason to that country. So I never thought I'd ever be working in Iraq, nor did I think I'd ever be working in Iran.
Yeah.
So I never thought in any circumstance that this dream could have even been in any essence ever happened.
Right.
But in the dream I went to Marja's house. From there, I don't know, it just looked to me, it was a great Ayatollah. He was sitting down on the chair, and we were all going in, and we're being showed around in his, it's just like a big house, all carpet, and there's this big seat which he was sitting on. All right, and then a lady comes out wearing, just wearing black covered, and she brings me a little boy, and he tells me, Ya Abu Ali, هذا ابنك علي أماني من ربنا وصلت لك إياه. So this is Ali. He's a gift from God I've brought to you. And in the dream, I'm telling the lady, I said, no, listen, I don't have a boy. I don't have kids. My wife, we're not trying anymore. I've got only 3 girls. She repeats it. She gives me, okay, no, Haji, look, you've made a mistake. He's not my son. So, and she goes, no, it's I've brought him as an imani and wusalak. And she walked away. She gave me Ali. So I wake up from the dream and I wake up my wife. I go, listen, I think you're pregnant. And she goes to me, no, I can't be. I said, listen, you're pregnant. So I went the next day and got a pregnancy test. It was negative. I said, nah, you're pregnant. I went the day after, I got a pregnancy test. It was negative. The 3rd day, it was positive. I go, you got Ali. So you got a son, and which I did. It was Ali. And that was what was the first thing that ever happened that actually, from the issue with the shoulder and all that, started to lead things into that direction.
Oh my God.
So that was that's how that started.
That is amazing. That is absolutely amazing. You're a very lucky person.
I won't say no.
But it's also reflective of what you put out there. And if I can connect part of the discussion that we're having here to the discussion that we had last week with Sheikh Mohammed Mahdi, what you put out there comes back to you in a way. It may not come back to you in the way that you anticipate or you want, but it will come back to you in a way that however, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants that to come back to you. I mean, you do something in His name, it doesn't translate into dollars for argument's sake, but it translates into something else. It could. It could be that work that you do is a sadaqah for having saved you from something, from some ill or evil to befall you. It could be that. You just don't know.
It's true.
But subhanAllah, what a story. What a story. So that, from there to Madif,
Yeah.
what was it that inspired you to set up Madif in the way that you did? And what is the aim of Madif? Because I do know that you have a particular focus when you hold programs there, and you do things in a particular way for a reason. So
Okay, so the way it started, and the first idea was from Abu Qarar. I knew nothing about religion. I really didn't know anything. So I looked for Abu Qarar, guided me the whole way and explained to me what's halal and haram, what we can and can't do. But I wanted to target the people who weren't able to go to centers. Not that they didn't want to go to centers, is they were the gap there between, let's just say, still doing haram, right? And haven't reached the level of entering a center yet.
very good.
So again, more like me, my family, I mean, a lot of the friends, not haram part, but we weren't the usual going to a center, going to a mosque.
Yeah.
So I wanted to target that age group. So we designed a youth center or a youth group with the focus of what we believed at the time was missing.
Right.
Then as we went along, because it took years to figure out what the community actually needs.
Yeah.
Right. And we weren't interested in doubling up programs, because our goal was never to take away from another center or another group or another. Our goal was to try to focus on what is missing in the Shia world.
Yeah.
All right. And that's really what we wanted to get to, and how to strengthen the Shias in Australia. And it was never about trying to take credit for work or do anything. It was more about how do we figure out what's needed, and how do we strategically, because when it comes to strategy, I'm pretty good. I mean, my job, I have, for the work I do internationally, I've got to be able to think way in advance.
Yeah.
And I've got to be able to plan way in advance. So I had to figure out a way or a method to reach what was missing. So it first went through, and of course, Ashura there's no doubt, is very important.
Yeah.
Muharram, we run Muharram programs.
Yeah.
Right? We love our Muharram program, and we look forward to it every single year. I mean, there's nothing better than running a Muharram program. The feeling after you finish that, when the program ends, you miss it straight away.
Oh, absolutely.
But
Absolutely.
the satisfaction of being able to have, and it's an honor to be able to do it. It's not, I mean, it's not that people are doing us a favor. It's not us doing them a favor. It's they're doing us a favor.
Yeah, by attending, by coming,
that's correct.
you open
By
your doors
allowing
and-
us, that's
yeah,
correct.
yeah.
So you love the passion that comes with it is incredible. So every year, my child from 5 years old to large looks forward to every year the next year's Ashura program.
Yeah.
So we run that non-stop. Okay. So that program, it wasn't relevant who runs or who doesn't. Ashura's Ashura, different story. But then we looked at what in essence was missing. So we realized that the Shias in Australia had no real power within politics. Okay? And it wasn't that politics was our main area of interest, but we said, how are we going to strengthen basically the Shia community in Australia? And that's where the focus went from a program run into more of a behind the scene government level negotiation and changes within the government.
Right. Right. So, what sort of programs do you run now?
At the moment, all we do is basically run external programs outside of Australia, which is support programs.
Right.
So at the moment, we're trying to build a mosque and a school in Africa, in Ghana.
Yeah.
So we've been working with a community in Ghana, which started with 3 people. Now they're 10,000.
Wow.
There was 3 Shia. It was a majority community, which was Wahhabi.
Yeah.
But again, it became now, there's over 10,000 members of Shia. We've promised them by next year to be able to build a mosque for them, which inshallah next year we're going to start to build the mosque, and a school for them, and a medical facility. We've also been working internationally to put together the United Shia Islamic Foundation. So we're trying to get delegates from across the globe to come together with one aim to support each other globally.
Right.
So, and that's really been the last 2 years of what the push that we've done, moving away from the everyday programs in Australia to more unifying the Shia globally, and entering the arena of education in Australia in terms of we're now in discussions about putting the Shia curriculum into schools.
Right.
Okay,
As part of the
School
religious curriculum.
That's correct.
In public schools. And
That's
whatnot.
correct.
Yeah.
All right, and also to have access to that curriculum on a wider level across the world. So there's a platform that's been created that we've been trying to work on, It's still early days, but
Yeah.
that's what we thought was missing out of the community.
Yeah. Look, there's a lot to be said for bringing communities together, and especially on a global scale, there are a lot of organizations, federations, and whatnot that bring parts of the community together. It'll be interesting to keep in contact with you about how this progresses. It's a mammoth task. There's nothing small about it.
It's a huge task. When I started it, I didn't realize how hard it would be. Now, realistically, the strategies behind it is internally in one's own country, it's really hard.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, it's easier when you're doing international.
How's that?
Okay. In your own country, it's not a center thing, it's a personality thing. When you run certain programs or certain things, other groups or other people, and I'm not targeting any group, it's just natural.
Yeah.
Because they're doing similar or close to, it becomes a fight of who can do it first, who can do it better. And unfortunately, and I don't mean it in disrespect to anybody.
I understand. It happens. It happens
correct.
that
human nature.
Exactly. And there's always that fear that there's a limited resource, which is people who attend your centers.
Correct.
And there is a degree of, like you said, the perception of competition that we've got to get this many people in the door. No, not really. It's about the quality of the work that you do. It's about what you present and how relevant it is and how that might attract those people who really need what it is that you're providing.
That's right.
And inshallah, whether they find it at your center or another one, the fact is they found it somewhere. And let that be the win rather than tonight we had 50 people, next week we had 100 people. That's not always the milestone. That's not always the benchmark by which to gauge something.
That's correct. And that's where we changed a lot of our approach. Because remember, we didn't Abu Qarar's come from a history of centers.
Yeah.
But I've never entered this arena before. I didn't understand this arena. To be honest with you, when I came into it the first year, after I said, oh my God, I said, you got to be joking. This is the religious arena? I said, what did they leave for the non-religious arena? This is incredible. But slowly, you realize it's changing. The new age, the new groups that are coming out, or the new culture that's advancing, have realized the only way we can help each other is to lean on each other.
Yeah.
So it's not, and yet I don't see any center in Australia as their own center. It's one arm. I mean, if you've got an Islamic center, you're one arm.
Yeah.
All right. You're working together for the same cause.
Exactly.
It makes no difference if he came to your group or this group. At the end of the day, if he went there, that's fantastic. Better than him going anywhere else.
Absolutely.
Right. So that's the ultimate goal that happened.
Yeah.
And what we realized is, while everyone's been fighting on the lower end, our other brothers in the other sects of religion, right, and external religions have grown dramatically.
Yeah.
They've got facilities, they've got money from the government. So we've said, okay, why aren't we tapping into the same? What do we have that's lacking that they have? So that's where the lobbying started and the power within the government. We started to push within the government, trying to get, I mean, again, why do we need to fight to get a mosque? Why do we have to sit there and fight and argue? What's the difference between having a mosque or a church?
Yeah.
All right.
Religious organization is religious.
What's the difference in the religion? I mean, we all believe in God at the end of the day. All right. What's the difference in having your own cemetery? Why do we have to go out there and fight and always get rejected, or have council come and fight us and have people? Why? Okay, we've got the media hitting us from every angle to make us. I mean, they're criminal. They're painting this image of Islam. Therefore, one of the core reasons or purpose we had is to change that image, show them what it means to be Muslim. I mean, anyone that's Muslim knows the image you see on TV has got absolutely nothing to do about Islam.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. And what you're, by demonstrating those things to the wider public, what I believe is happening is that you're demonstrating, like you said, to use your own words in a slightly different way, is that you're demonstrating our core belief. And we've just recently commemorated the Shahada of Imam Ali alayhi salam. Without making a noise, without doing anything, in the middle of the night, he would go and feed the hungry. He would go and take care of the orphans. He would go and help the poor. And he would do, and he lived in his life in such a way that people were amazed when he did pass away of the things that he did. And that, to me, says a lot about the core of what we should be doing in our, and how we should represent ourselves in our daily lives and outside of our communities. Of course, inside our communities with each other, but also outside of our communities.
I love that story, by the way. That's the one story I love. So whenever we come into any subject, I always refer to that.
Yeah.
Because it really is. I mean, in the middle of the night, the only reason they knew it was him is after he passed.
Yeah, and he stopped coming.
And that's correct. I love that story. And even better is the story of Sayyid Fatima. So if you look at her story, when they came and knocked on her door, all right, she had a new dress that was given to her by Rasulullah.
Her bridal dress.
Yeah, bridal dress. Imagine your bridal dress. Imagine taking your bridal dress and giving it to a complete stranger. Knocking, so something that you love has been given to you and given it away.
Yeah.
Or go back into where Prophet Muhammad gave his cloak.
Yeah.
And it went there and it fed. So the stories are brilliant.
Yeah.
If you go in history, I'm talking about the historical events, they lead you to your rizq will always come back.
Absolutely.
Correct.
Absolutely. And I think that's a very big fear for people generally. And to be honest, I have to include myself, that where is my rizq coming from? What have I have to do? What have I done today to earn my rizq? But then you reflect on something like that. You reflect on the different surahs of the Holy Quran and the teachings of the Holy Prophet and sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, that your rizq will come to you. Don't worry about that. You just do what you've got to do, and it'll come. For you, it might be less. For you, it might be more. For him, it might be different.
Correct.
And that's just the way it is.
And look, there's one thing people don't realize. Of course, money is not the most important thing in the world. I mean, a lot of people, their rizq is in their family. You have a healthy family.
Absolutely.
You have a healthy child.
Yeah.
You have, you're growing up watching your kids grow up. I'd rather lose all the wealth in the world than lose a child.
Yeah.
I mean, so there's a big difference. Rizq is just not the money that comes in.
Well, rizq is sustenance.
That's
right?
correct.
And sustenance is not just financial. Sustenance is all of those things and much more than that you've just mentioned. Let's come back around to community service and community work, right? So you've set up Madif, you've come this far, and then you've started to work with the youth especially, and that's hard work. That is hard work. First of all, it's kind of a challenge to be accepted.
That's
because you're older and
that's
whatnot,
correct.
and then so you've got to win their trust, and that you're not secretly converting them into something God knows. I don't know what it is. But,
you're correct. It is probably the hardest task is the youth. All right, the older generation is really easy to work with. Right, really easy to work with. And now I'm talking about the 60+ generation. So the elders, they're really easy, really good to work with. The youth is very hard to work with, because you might be thinking you're doing the right thing by them and you're pushing as hard as possible to help them, but all of a sudden you realize that their approach or their thoughts changed so quick.
Yeah.
So today, what they thought was right today, all of a sudden one day later,
it's wrong.
It's wrong.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's 360.
When we were growing up, I'm a little bit older than you, but when we were growing up, give me that, all right? The pace at which daily life moved and changed was a lot slower than what it is today.
That's correct.
A little while back it was Vines, and then it was something else, and then Snap, and which is Snapchat, which became Snap, which became TikTok, which I don't know what's next.
I don't know how to use any of them.
My kids show me, look at this on Snap. It's okay, and it's PUBG, Fortnite, GTA. These are all the just stuff that gets thrown around. You think, oh, okay, I should look into that. By the time I've looked into it, it's already gone, right? So it's very hard for us, but it's also easy when you're a kid. You've got nothing else.
That's right.
So it perpetuates because you've got nothing else. We've got work. We've got to look out for these kids. We've got our commitments, our obligations, our duties inside the home, outside the home, and so on and so on. So we've got so much stuff going on. It's hard to keep pace and hard to keep track of that.
Do you know the one thing? Let's go back to the youth and what you said. The one thing I realized very quick is sometimes the best approach is to let the group go. And when I say to let it go, it needs to grow. Always be there to support them. So sometimes a group would want to change the structure, modify. I mean, everyone has their own goals in life, and people's goals change very quick when you're young. When you're older, your goals are set. a lot more said anyway.
Yeah.
And then you follow that goal. You want to reach that goal. But when you're young, that goal can change from night to night.
Yeah.
So I realized the best way to help them is to be the guy in the background. All right, just cruise it along, see whatever help they need, help them when they need their help. Right, even if they don't know you're helping them, still assist them.
Yeah.
And that's the best way, because at the end of the day, they're going to come back as long as they're following the guidelines of Ahlul Bayt. As long as, and that's for, I'm telling you personally,
Yeah.
you know, they're never going to get astray. They're never going to go astray. They may divert, they might change slightly, they might have different visions for their own future, but they'll always come back. Right, Ashura will always bring back and reunite the spirit of every Shia.
Inshallah. Inshallah, we continue to have that blessing that that we've enjoyed, and inshallah we have that ongoing for ourselves and for the whole community. That's a really good point. That it's a very tricky very tricky equation. How much is too much and how much is not enough?
You're never going to get it right.
Yeah.
It's impossible to. I mean, it's literally impossible.
Yeah.
After 5 years of doing this, I've learned that there is no right answer. There's no such thing as a right answer. Right? There's logically a right answer, but logic doesn't exist in.
It's very fluid.
That's
very
correct.
fluid.
That's correct.
And like you touched on before, things change a lot,
right.
and there's got to be a lot of fluidity. You've worked on a lot of campaigns, and a lot of different campaigns. How do you find them? How do you find, here's an issue, I think I'm going to work on that one?
Okay, honestly, for some reason, someone always calls me and tells me there's an issue. I'll always get off phone, and then when I get off the phone, go, why'd you have to call me? Can you just give me a break for today? And then I think later, no, you know what, it was pretty good. But yeah, just someone will call me and say, Hus, look, and we don't know who to speak to. We've taken it to A, B, C, D.
Yeah.
They don't know what to do. So I said, okay, no problem, let me deal with it. And then I have to sit down and think of a way to meet it. I mean, the time of the 2 exemptions, there was 2 exemptions that I think you guys came at the time to the meeting. That was the beginning of the ARA. I mean, you'd laugh if you know where the ARA is right now. The ARA now is the most, I reckon personally, is the most powerful organisation in Australia right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's become within the government. We've united with most the religious leaders.
Yep.
We've formed a really good united front.
And this is across multi-faith.
All multi-faith. Look, at the end of the day, the religions are the same. And I'm only talking about my personal belief. Let's go from Buddhism to Judaism to Christianity. It's just different parts of the exits for different reasons.
That's right. So the fundamentals are the same. The morality, ethics, et cetera, et cetera.
I believe it's a little bit more. I believe it's actually the same. I worked with the Aboriginal community.
Yep.
Right? I actually wanted to help the Aboriginal community advance in Australia.
Yep.
So I went with it. And then what I've learned about the Aboriginal community is they circumcise. They bury the person with a shroud.
Yeah.
They believe, they don't call them Adam and Eve. They believe that the earth started from a male and a female who came from, come on, guy, it's the same story.
Yeah, it's
right?
very, very...
It's the same. But we know for a fact that 124,000 prophets were sent down to the earth. Each prophet at any given time, who knows who the prophets were?
Exactly. And maybe some of those teachings weren't
correct,
fulfilled or completed in the manner that we received a completed teaching.
Well, each prophet was sent down with a unique way or a unique message at that time.
For sure.
So with time of Jesus was healing.
Yeah.
Nabi Sulaiman was able to speak to, the jinn, magic. So you've got every time had a different reason.
Yeah.
Prophet Noah, every single time there was a different strategy. We know from Christianity, if we look very closely at Christianity, we know that they turned Jesus into God.
Yeah.
Right? So therefore, we already seen it. We physically seen it ourselves that at one recent time, they've taken a prophet and given him the figure of God or the abilities or the attributes of God. So based on that, if you go far enough into the main religions with the same message all the way around, to me, it looked like this was the one religion all the way through. But at each given point, personally, I'm just saying, because I did a lot of study into most of the religions. Yeah. And I'm no expert. I'm just saying, as a personal, I believe that all these religions that we're seeing are the same religion. It's just that one given time, they lost their way.
Yeah.
All right. And veered off. And then that's why when we say the ultimate, think about it. Prophet Muhammad was able to achieve any miracle. We believe he was able to do any miracle. Yeah. He could ask God to wake the dead. There was nothing that Prophet Muhammad could have not achieved. But what is his greatest miracle? The Quran.
Yeah.
Why? the unchangeable text.
Absolutely.
Right? And based on that is why I say that at the end of the day, we are all brothers of faith.
Yeah.
Right? And on that basis, we've looked at this broader thing of a uniting, standing together against the wave of anti-religion that's hitting the West.
That's an interesting point, and I think that's a whole other full discussion in itself, and maybe several discussions there. But suffice that we focus on this for now, because that's a really interesting subject. Or it really is. So campaigns find you. You don't necessarily go looking for them.
I've never looked for a campaign.
It's like
never looked for a campaign.
It's like the old Western movies, trouble doesn't. I don't go looking for trouble. Trouble finds me.
Listen, if I don't walk into my house every week and tell my wife, listen, we've got this to do, she'll think I was sick.
Okay, so following on from that, obviously, and like you've mentioned already, it takes more than one person to run a campaign.
Correct.
How do you find people to do it?
Honestly, they come together. I'll give you an example. We've got the youth of Madef.
Yeah.
All right. We'll have, and let's just say we have an issue. The person that brings it forward, first of all, always comes to us. Then all of a sudden, one or two guys will join. Then that will grow to 5, will grow to 10, it'll grow to 20. The one thing I realize about the Shia and the heart of the Shia, they love to help. I don't care what anyone says. If you're a Shia and if you're women, I'm just talking about the community that I'm in. That's why I'm focused on the Shia community. If you've got a chance to help, you will help, and people love it. They love to help. The groups seem to grow by themselves, and we never close the door on anybody. We don't care who comes. We don't care what abilities they have, what talent they have. We'll find something for them to do with us.
That's excellent. What a great approach. Really, what a great approach. And the most recent campaign you've run, and I think you're just not winding down, but you've significantly tapered off the campaign, is the
Food support program.
Sorry?
Food support?
Food support program, yes. You've gone, I think you mentioned earlier, you were doing thousands of meals per week, and you've tapered that down to how many a week now?
Okay, right now we've only kept on board. Now we have announced that it's finished.
Yep.
But obviously we know there's a certain amount of people who still need the help.
Yep.
Right, so we'll never stop. If someone really needs it,
Yep.
they're always going to get their help. There's no way we're going to say no to anyone. But the majority we have stopped. So we were initially we were only doing about 400 to 800. This is the first few days.
Yep.
That's about a week. Channel 9 came out somehow. I think Abdullah Saleh is to blame. But anyway, Channel 9 came out. They came to an interview, and all of a sudden that went to about 3,000 servings a day.
3,000 a day.
3,000 a day. That was for a good 2 months straight.
And right through Shahr Ramadan.
All of it. But that wasn't just food. That was also commodities. We were giving them toilet paper. We were giving them tissue. We were giving them Bismillah, hummus, full, nuts, bread,
Okay, so
cheese.
all of this costs money. Nothing comes for free, right? It's not as though Haj Faraj has a warehouse which you were just filled with stuff. Okay, look, I've got hummus. Let's just take it. How do you get the financial support?
Okay, I'm going to explain this program, how it happened. So let's just say there was 3 major supporters that helped us out. Okay, that's why I asked you if you knew Luma Sharif. Luma Sharif, now Mosul. So Mosul is probably, if there's ever a guardian angel that no one ever knows about, literally, and I tell you what he does, what I do, is no one next to what he does. Right? You just don't understand. I've been working with him for the last 3 years, and what we've achieved overseas and what we've achieved globally is incredible. Right? And then we have Zain Sharif as well. And obviously you guys helped out. So it was commodity. But the major cost, I say 80% of the cost, I want to ask you, is your money yours?
No, you're a custodian.
Custodian, okay. So the money that we had, we spent.
So I'm going to touch on something for a moment, if you don't mind. Mozu I've known for at least a couple of decades, and he's sworn me to secrecy on a lot of things when it comes to the quiet assistance and the help and the work that he does.
He swore us too, but I had to mention him.
Exactly, yeah.
It's just impossible.
And he is along with our good friend Zain Moldu. They quietly work in the community here, overseas, and the amount of, and I'm not just referring to financial support. By the grace of God, they have an ability to provide financial support and other kinds of support. It's those other kinds of support that I'm referring to.
I'm going to tell you a small story before you leave. 2 years ago, I was going to give up. I was leaving. I said, stuff this. The more I tried to help, the more I got attacked. And I'm telling you, it's just unbelievable. I was getting phone calls, and this is all my own. I mean, when I say custodian, it was money that I wasn't custodian of.
Yeah.
It was money I earned and I kept.
Yep.
And I was getting phone calls from people abusing me of how I spent my money. All right. So at the end of that, I got tired, and I said, you know what? I don't want to do this anymore. It was Mosul and Zayn.
Yeah.
And literally, forget about the financial support for a sec. Right? They sat me down. I spoke to them. It was their approach to it and their discussion with me on those days that made me think to myself, you know what? God tests everyone certain ways.
Absolutely, yeah.
This is my test. My test these days are going to be the patience. I mean, it was a patience game because I'm still young, so you get hot-headed. And again, I make a lot of mistakes. And that's why I always turn to Abu Qarar to make any religious decision. Because I'll make a decision just, I mean, if you get angry, and it's natural. I mean, I make mistakes. I make heaps of mistakes. Trust me, I make more mistakes than your average person. But at the end of the day, you know, as long as you make a mistake and you try to fix the mistake, it's not an issue. But they sat me down at that given point. At the point I was going to close everything down.
Really?
Everything. I go, I'm tired. I go, I don't need this. I don't want to work a whole year to run these programs, and all I get is people fighting me. Right? I go and tell this person, listen, this is our plan to increase our community's power in this area.
Yeah.
Please support us. They told me yes. All of a sudden, they go and backstab me, and they do the opposite. And they actually do the opposite of what I asked them to. And I've explained to them exactly what we're doing.
I've got to tell you, that's just community work. That's just what happens. Sadly, I'm not justifying it in any way, but generally that's what happens. And sometimes that's because people can't see what it is you can see. They don't understand the perspective. They don't understand. They might understand today. They might understand yesterday. They don't understand 6 months, 12 months, 10 years. They don't understand the day that neither you nor I are sitting here, and it's not just the next generation, but the generation after that.
That's 100% correct. It's 100% correct. And when they sat me down, it's exactly to the essence of what they discussed with me. So even when he said, look, and again, he goes, don't give up.
Yeah.
I'm going to support you.
Yeah.
And then when, again, I said, look, okay. And they put in I mean, there's a lot of stuff we did that no one ever knows about.
Yes.
You would not believe the amount. Go overseas and mention the Madef's name overseas, and they'll see they know the Madef in any country.
Yeah.
All right, but no one knows who the Madef is. No one knows who's in charge.
Yep.
No one knows who's a part of it.
Yep.
Right? They know the name because the name goes out with the support, but that's all they know.
Yep.
And it was because of those two that everything that's happened from those that day to now has happened, including the United Shia Islamic Foundation. And in the United Shia Islamic Foundation, when we first started it, people laughed at the idea that we would be able to take part or influence at a government level, right? And I don't want to get into the idea of Labour, Liberal. I don't care. I don't care who your politics are. At the end of the day, I care about having a representation, a person that's going to represent us at the level that's needed, at the reasoning of what's required. So I don't want just to push you to go up so you can become the first Muslim Prime Minister. That's useless. I want to have Ali Sharif up in that position because I know that one day something's going to happen in this country that he's going to have to stand and fight for us at that level, even if it means he's going to get thrown out of Parliament, even if he's going to be thrown out of his position. He's not going to hide away. He's going to fear God more than he fears his money or his wealth on the ground.
I'm going to bring that back to Imam Ali alayhi salam. And enough said with that. There's nothing I can say more. Look, to close off that point, these two gentlemen, and there are several in the community like them, both Mozu and Zain, their approach to helping others in whatever manner is incredible, absolutely incredible. I'm actually humbled by how they approach this and then how they insist on never even talking about anything that they've done. But sometimes you need to bring it up. Sometimes you need to mention that there are individuals in the community that do this work, that provide this kind of support. And I'm not just talking about financial support. I'm talking about just being there to help somebody such as yourself, for argument's sake, to say, Hus, don't do this. We're going to help you through it.
And you find there's always a few people that go beyond and above. Yeah. They're one of them. There's another guy called Adnan. I won't say his surname because he's sworn me also to secrecy. I mean, I know four people in terms that no one understands their value. They will only understand their value when they're gone.
Yep.
And may God give them long life.
Inshallah.
Because I don't want to see this earth without people like them.
Inshallah. 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 And if their time comes, then inshallah they're replaced by even somebody even greater. As hard as that might be. But that is up to
Inshallah.
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We've kind of covered off a few things that I wanted to talk about in a roundabout kind of way, and I'm happy with that actually. That's been really good. Let's come back again to the food support program. If you had to go through that again, let's say there was some sort of crisis or disaster or something, and you were faced with having to run a program like that again, what would you do differently? What have you learned going through this that you could apply or implement or teach somebody if they had to do it?
Okay, well, let's start with would I do it again? I think we all miss it already. I kid you not. Today we were discussing it and we were waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning. It gets into a routine. Imagine for 10 weeks straight we did it.
Yeah.
Right, it's just under 10 weeks, a few days under 10 weeks.
Yeah.
Right, every day the routine was waking up, 5 o'clock cooking, 8 o'clock first deliveries, come back 12 o'clock second round of cooking, 3 o'clock round next delivery, and then the last round at night, cooking and deliveries, right?
Oh my God.
So, in essence, it was the most difficult thing I've ever had to do. And while I was doing it, I was tired and exhausted.
Yep.
But when we finished the program, right, and I can tell you, I mean, from Yusuf Nasruddin to Abu Qarar, to myself, to Mahmoud, to the Haj, Abu Tom Toby. Tom Toby is incredible. We forgot about one of the biggest names. That guy was delivering every day for 10 weeks.
Wow.
His own car, his own money, his own everything. Right? And again, I know I've been sworn to secrecy, but there's no way I'm keeping them. 10 weeks. You aren't talking about delivering for a week or a day or 3 days or 5 days. 10 weeks straight. Right? And they were delivering 10 weeks straight.
So you had people who were obviously supporting you with product and ingredients and raw materials and things to be able to cook and prepare food.
To be honest, 95% was us.
Okay.
We purchased them all.
Okay.
Okay. So, alhamdulillah. So 95% we purchased. We had contributions of about 5% in the overall. The program was very costly.
Yeah.
It was really costly.
So did you have financial support for the program?
We had
contributions or in whatever way?
We had 3 contributions towards the program.
Yep.
They were good contributions.
Yeah.
All right. They would cover at least 5 to 10% of the major cost.
Fantastic.
All right. And at one time we had the raw products that were handed.
Yeah.
And they helped us out because we cooked the raw product is nothing when you give it out raw.
Yeah.
But when we're cooking it, it's got heaps of barakah.
Yeah.
So that raw product we were able to use. We needed it for 4 days. We had 1 week, like it was a Thursday, and I had money coming on Monday, and it was enough to get us through to the Monday. And originally, when the first crisis happened, nothing to do with religion.
Yeah.
I thought, you know what? I should buy rice and sell rice. I'll make some money. So I bought 5,000 bags of rice. So originally, I wasn't for this program.
Yep.
Right? It was nothing to do with this program. So I bought 5,000 bags of rice, and I bought 1,300 bags of charcoal. Right?
Yeah.
And it was just like, you know what? If we have nothing, at least we have rice and charcoal. So we ended up buying them. And the rice, we've got exactly left over 5 bags of rice from the 5,000 bags.
From the entire food support program,
we've
you used 4,995 bags of rice.
I've got them in my van. There's 5 bags left. So we got down to the last 5 bags of rice.
So then you had volunteers who were working in food preparation, in deliveries, in
everything. And again, I'm only the facilitator.
Yeah.
This program was so much work. There was about $40,000 of food going out per day in actual value, not in our cost. Don't forget about that.
Yeah.
But I'll give you an example. If you came and bought it from my shop next door, that packet that I gave you is $10.
Yeah.
All right. Chicken and rice, a whole large packet, it's $10.
Yeah.
It's $10 wherever you go buy it. So I'm talking about in essence of its completed value, and without the delivery charges too. If you go through Uber Eats, you got to add another 35%.
Yeah.
But it was very expensive, and it was the work. They came in every morning. So me and Abu Qarar would start in the morning from 11 o'clock all the way to 10, 11 o'clock at night. The volunteers came and did everything.
And that's amazing. And these people were committed to you daily, or they said, "Here's my routine. I can come every second day."
Every day. Every day. If they missed one day, all right, they would call up and say, "Can I deliver them later?" Because I really want to deliver the product. It became, no, I can't explain to you. Every time we do something and I see the commitment of other people,
Yeah.
I want to do more.
Yeah.
Watching them makes me say, wow, what he's willing to do.
Yeah.
I'm doing the easy part. I'm sitting down here, there's a big pot and I'm stirring it. Right?
Is that metaphorical?
So they're cooking. So we're sitting down and you see him bagging 3,000 bags. We were doing 3,000 containers, right?
Yeah.
Then we were going to the markets every morning and we're getting from the fruit. We're
buy all
picking
the
the best fruit.
ingredients and- yeah.
For the first month, we had the best fruit. Everyone that got the first month will tell you.
Yeah.
After the first month, there was no more fruit.
Yeah, it was whatever you can find.
No. It was whatever we could afford. No one thought it was going to be a 2.5 month program.
Yeah.
Initially, it was meant to be a 2-week program.
Right.
Right. So it was 2 weeks, then to 4 weeks, then it was 6 weeks. And come on, when are you going to open the state? I think it's about time people are allowed to leave their houses. But it ended up going for 10 weeks in total.
Alhamdulillah, that's fantastic. Again, we've kind of covered off a few of the things that I wanted to talk about. So that's really good.
I mean, even you guys, remember Hussein Center? You know how beautiful that food was that you guys, and they used to come at the perfect time. Funny enough, because it saved us from doing the night shift cooking.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so when we used to receive it, we used to rejoice and go, oh, fantastic. I used to send, Yusuf used to come pick it up, and he used to come, the bags used to be ready,
Yep.
straight into the bags,
Yep.
straight into the delivery.
Yep. There's some very committed brothers who actually organized all of that. They put it together and they said, this is what we're going to do. And so
Whoever made the food's brilliant. He's a good cook.
He's absolutely fantastic and the most unassuming person. You'd look at him and go, this guy can't cook. He is phenomenal when it comes to mashallah, mashallah. May God give him a long and healthy and happy, prosperous life, inshallah.
Inshallah.
So it wasn't necessarily about financial commitment or financial support. It was about how you can help the program to achieve the results.
That's correct.
And that's where people really stepped up and stepped in.
That's correct.
That's fantastic. That's really great. I have another couple of questions, and then I think, inshallah, we'll wrap up this session. It doesn't feel like long for us, but I know that's been quite a while, and I'm getting nods and things from our team over there. You have the opportunity to give a message to the community. What would you tell the community when it comes to doing community service, doing community work, with the kind of background that you now have over the last 5 to 10 years of what you've been doing?
There's always something you can give. Okay, the poorest family to the richest family, there's always someone there that needs something more than you. Right, the one thing I've realized, and again, I take you back to the story we discussed. Right, think about her wedding dress.
Yep.
Was handed over a wedding dress at the time before the wedding. So there's always, don't ever say that I can't help. Right? Sometimes the difference between that dollar, right? I'm not saying, forget about $1 million or 100. That dollar could help someone overseas or someone here dramatically.
Yeah.
All right. Aid is always, I realize that the more you give, the more you receive. But even if you did not receive, if we're in a position even to help slightly, help. And help who's close to you. I always say, and again, I always say this, you don't have to think far. Have you got a cousin overseas or a family friend or someone you know? I personally always try to help who's close before I help who's far. So when I say that is, I'm talking about whatever I collect. If I know you and I know your situation, and I don't know that the other person, I always try to help the person that I know of.
Yep.
And don't ever be ashamed. $1, 50 cents, not even that, a smile, a gesture. It does not have to be finances.
A smile is charity as well.
Smile, just smiling at someone,
Yep.
saying nice words,
Yep.
right? Someone yells or screams. You know how many times, you get into a situation where someone wants to abuse you because of who you are. Just turning around and say, look, I understand you're frustrated. And just smiling and walking away is better than spending $1,000 in aid or,
Yeah.
I think that's
Definitely.
basically the only message. Hold forward.
No.
Never think you can't help.
No, absolutely. I have a story to go with that, but I'll tell you afterwards. How can our centers and our masajid and our communities contribute better?
To be honest with you, and I don't mean any disrespect to any group or any way, I think we need to align ourselves together at a center level where the leaders of the centers are at least meeting once a month and just discussions to get to know each other. All right, having a closer relationship at that kind of level. Because when you see your leaders at that kind of level, it will break the division at the level under.
But that's sorry, I'm gonna
Sorry.
expand on this a little bit. That's, in my view, that's often what happens with our different maraja, right?
Correct. That's correct.
They're not the problem.
No.
We're the problem.
That's
we create that division. My marja this, your marja that. But you don't see them doing it. We're creating that problem.
That's correct. I'm not talking about the marja level.
No,
Talking
I'm just
about- yeah.
using that as an example.
But that's
right? I'm
that's
not-
the perfect example. Because you see a marja together, and then you see two people sit down. I'll be sitting there, and they're arguing about the marja. I'm like, you've got to be joking.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
you should- they're together. They're not arguing. They
Exactly.
love each
And then
other there.
My center this and your center that, and what is this? Either we are the Shia of Imam Ali or we're not.
You said the perfect word. Either we are the Shia of Imam Ali, or we are not.
Yep.
Forget about the center level.
Exactly.
We are Shia. We are the followers of Ahlul Bayt. Therefore, we are entrusted to be one.
Hassan, thank you. What's your next campaign, and how can people help?
Can I have a break for a week?
When we finish, that phone's going to ring.
Our next campaign is, we've been working with a community called El Yassin, and One Hand, One Heart done us a huge favor this year. We were at capacity this year. We were contributing into Lebanon. We were doing Slight Africa, Lebanon, Syria, and Australia. We were doing, I think, 400 families plus in Lebanon. We were doing in Iraq over 200 to 300 families. So the same program that was running here, but over there it was running with finances.
Right.
So we were distributing finances to the poor during Ramadan,
Right.
and we were doing. So we were we were struggling.
Yep.
We really were struggling.
Yep.
So they stepped up and they actually looked after this community that we promised that we would support.
Yep.
And the Sheikh did a fantastic job. So we were able to get them through that. The next contribution is this area in 2005 there was only 3 Shia. Now they're 10,000 plus.
Yep.
Right, so we've been working very closely with the Sheikh that leads the Tabligh there, and he's become one of the ambassadors to the IHIC Islamic Foundation in Africa.
Great.
We want to help build a mosque and a school for them and help them continue the Tabligh. So that is the next endeavor that we have in terms of the religious commitment that we want to put forward. And we're still going to continue with the IHIC Islamic Foundation, the lobbying inside of Australia, and we're trying to get the same. Obviously, the restrictions removed, current restrictions.
Yep.
So we've been sending back and forward emails to the ministers, the MPs, and we're asking them to lift the current restrictions. And we're trying to get before Ashura at least the number of. I don't know if we're going to be successful. We'll get over 100.
Yep.
I'm pretty confident that we're going to get over the 100 mark for Ashura, but we're trying to get our centers fully open, ready for Ashura.
Inshallah, we can achieve that. That would be that'd be. It's hard enough to do Shahr Ramadan without being able to visit your center and have the programs in the center. Although some live streams and stuff, it goes a long way, but it's just not the same.
We
thing.
definitely will have Ashura in the centers.
Yeah.
All right. It's just a matter of how many people they're going to allow us to have in the centers. There's one more program which I'd like to mention. If every year we run a support program during the Arba'in. Now, the Zawar of the Arba'in are getting more and more every year.
Yes.
Now, we work with Malkabet in the Arba'in, so we've got a Malkab or support a Malkab
Yep.
Arba'in. Each year we look for a way to support that Malkab. Last year we sent a lot of product out of Australia. We sent spices, all the flavors.
Yeah.
So anyone that went last year got to eat chicken burgers from Australia.
What
كباب
was
from
your
Australia.
what was your mock-up number?
الموقف شو اسمه اللي اول واحد القرار تريد فول نايم شباب الكاس شباب الكاس. My Arabic is really bad.
Yeah. That's all right. I was there last year and I was looking out for it, and I'm sure that I walked straight past it. And I was in touch with a few friends and whatnot that they were saying, you've got to stop there, you've got to stop there. I can't find it.
Yeah, a lot of the Australians that came from Australia came and actually helped out.
Yeah?
Yeah, a lot of the Australians actually went down and helped in the World Cup.
MashaAllah.
So they were working in the World Cup. But this year we would like to expand that program and get them machinery that'll make it much easier for them to be able to serve on a much larger scale. And I think that's about it.
Fantastic. Look, as these programs develop, inshallah, we can share those details through our communities and on our different platforms and things. Inshallah, we keep in touch. And I don't think it's my place to congratulate you on the work that you've done, but it is, if I can say that what you've done or you've been able to facilitate, inshallah, has an ongoing impact through working with not just the Muslim communities, but communities outside the Muslims with all different faiths, non-faiths, all of the different kind of work that you do that only God knows, all of what you've done and what you've been involved with, along with your workers, supporters, volunteers, the family that you've roped into all of this as well. Inshallah, you continue to be able to do that, and inshallah we can work, all the community can work together for some positive outcomes and results that benefit everybody, inshallah.
Inshallah. And I've got to say before we go,
Please.
I thank God every day for the opportunity.
That's important.
I look forward to it every day. No matter how much I complain, the best part of my life is this part of life.
I have to agree with you completely. There's in whatever, all of the volunteers, whether this organization, Madif, with anybody else, will say exactly the same thing. The moment that they can't do this anymore is the moment they feel completely lost, and myself included. Absolutely, 100%.
Thank you,
Haj, thank you very much for joining us this evening. It's been eye-opening. It's been very interesting, and there's a lot more to talk about in the future as well. Thank you very much.
Inshallah, thank you very much.
See you again soon. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.